everybody, and welcome back to Lindsay's Little Library. So I'm here today with a bit of a book haul. So this last weekend, I took a little road trip to Minnesota and hung out with Amanda for the weekend. We planned to go, well, not planned, we did go see Ruta Sepetys speak at an author event for her newer book, I Must Betray You, which was phenomenal, and I cannot tell you enough. If you have the opportunity to see Ruta speak, absolutely go do it. So we did that, and of course we had to like fill some time, so we stopped at Nadia Cakes. We did a whole bunch of fun stuff. Go see Amanda's vlog, I'll link that below. But we also did some book shopping, and I have a stack to share with you. So let's see, where do we start? Okay, so Amanda did send me home with a couple of books. She sent me home with 2 books, and then she sent Emily, or she sent a pile of books home for Emily. So I might do a separate video and have Emily show you what she has. But these are the ones she gave to me. She gave me the If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've heard really great things about it. I think it's subtly based on some sort of reality TV type scenario, falls in love, romance. I'll take it. I'll take it. I've been, oh, and they're short chapters. I've been gobbling up like rom-coms lately pretty much, so she knows what I like. And then she also gave me And There He Kept Her by Joshua Moling. If you've never heard of this book, I don't want to know much. It says, they thought he was a helpless old man. They were wrong. But she says it's fantastic. So those are going on the shelf. Maybe not on that shelf. That shelf. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, great. So then we did a little bit of thrifting. We went to Half Price Books, and we also went to an independent bookstore that's in Minneapolis called Majors and Quinn. Oh my gosh. I wish I had a bookstore like that in my area. I just don't. Like, it's so sad that my city doesn't have a bookstore. Oh, so sad. You know, if I had time, I would change that. But anyway, so Majors and Quinn, such a cute store. I could spend hours in there, and we probably did. I don't know. You lose track of time. But I got a pile of books from there. So one book that has been on my radar that I needed to pick up for book club is Dust Child by that author that I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce. So this one takes place, it's historical fiction, 1969, takes place in Saigon in Vietnam, and it follows a couple of sisters who their only way to help their parents pay off their debts is they become, what are they called? It doesn't have it in here, but they basically go to Saigon to work as kind of like a barmaid at a bar where American GIs are, kind of in return for money. And then as the war moves closer, one of the sisters gets swept up in a romance with a very handsome and kind American helicopter pilot. Decades later, an American veteran returns to Vietnam with his wife Linda in search of a way to heal from PTSD. Instead, secrets he thought he had buried are now surfaced and threaten his marriage. And then we have an adult son of a Black American soldier and a Vietnamese woman who embarks on a mission to find both of his parents. So we have a couple of perspectives, a little bit of a dual timeline. I'm so beyond interested in a historical fiction centered around the Vietnam War. I'm a little World War II historical fictioned out. So I'm looking for other options, and this is for book club, and I cannot wait to read it. What do you want, Stormy? Stormy's trying to get up here. Let's see, the next one I picked up a copy of Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, because they had signed copies there. I did read this book. I love this book. Love, love, love. Are you okay? You coming over? He's just gonna knock all the books over. Anyways, love this book. It was fantastic. Amazing rom-com. Follows Dr. Brianna Ortiz and Dr. Jacob, what's his last name? Maddox. And it goes from there. It's just, it's so sweet. So I have a copy. I now have all of Abby's books because I'm a collection. I also picked up Jennifer McMahon's new book, The Children on the Hill, Dual Timelines, 1978, 2019. Not really sure. Let's see. Oh, it's inspired by Frankenstein. Explores the eerie mysteries of childhood and the evils perpetuated by the monsters among us. We know Jennifer's gonna deliver. And then the last one I picked up was The Lobotomist's Wife by Samantha Green Woodruff. This is historical fiction. It's post-World War I. We have Ruth Emeraldine. His one goal is to help those suffering from mental illness. Then she falls in love with a charismatic Robert, a brilliant doctor, and he is championing a radical new treatment, which is the lobotomy. And so she starts to see flaws in his research, and he just becomes more and more obsessed with this procedure. And so it's basically around like, how does she bring this to light? This is not right, and go from there. It's inspired by a shocking chapter in medical history. So I thought it sounded interesting. All right, then the rest, I don't really know where they all kind of came from. Okay, and the rest are kind of just a variety of Savers, Goodwill, half-price books. Not really sure where they all came from, but we've got them. First one I have is The Surrogate by Judith Henry Wall. So this one kind of follows our main character, Jamie, who is penniless and looking for a way to just kind of keep surviving, and she looks into surrogacy. So she ends up signing up for that, and once she's pregnant and under contract to Amanda, who's the head of a famous evangelical family, she realizes she's getting way more than she bargained for. So it turns into, oh my gosh, this is gonna be fantastic, to she is like whisked away, kind of locked away, potentially almost like stolen. So it didn't have the best ratings on Goodreads, but I'm way too intrigued by it, so I want to give it a whirl. So if anyone's read this, let me know your thoughts. Then we have Behind the Beautiful Forevers by Catherine Boo. It is life, death, and hope in a Mumbai undercity. So this one, it says, bewildering age of global change and inequality is made human through the dramatic story of families striving toward a better life at a makeshift settlement in the shadow of luxury hotels near the Mumbai airport. So it follows their story. Super interested. We have Missing by Thomas Addison. This one sounds crazy too. Historical fiction, we have 1886. An old Samuel Jones, broken in body and soul, has ridden hard to reach his daughter's remote New Mexico ranch. Ridden hard so that he can die there. But Maggie Baldwin, grown and with children of her own, wants nothing to do with this man who abandoned her and her mother 30 years ago. And he left them basically to go live with the Indians. Nothing until a renegade Apache shoots Maggie's husband and kidnaps her oldest daughter. Then she has no choice but to ride with her dying father that she detests so very, very much in a desperate attempt to rescue her child before the girl disappears forever. So yeah, very into that one. Then we have The Art of Hearing Heartbeats by Jean-Philippe Sendeker. Look at this cover, it's gorgeous. And we have Julia Wynn's father disappears one day. Her family is shocked and confused, and that is until they find a love letter he'd written many years ago to a woman in Burma. Intent on solving the mystery and piecing together her father's mysterious past, Julia decides to put on her own budding legal career on hold to travel to the small mountain village, where she is approached by a man who claims to know her father, who also seems to have an uncanny knowledge of Julia herself. She meets with him every afternoon, listens to incredible tales of her father's youth and of his childhood blindness, his education at a monastery, and most of all, about his romantic relationship with a local girl. What Julia uncovers is a tale of unimaginable hardship, resistance, and passion that will change life forever. I know. I picked up Mademoiselle Chanel by C.W. Gortner. Follows Gabrielle Chanel and her sisters after they're sent to an orphanage after their mother's death, and then what kind of her life was like. We have The Longest Night by Otto Decat. I know I just said I know I just said that I'm done with historical fiction, or World War II historical fiction, but here we go. Since the liberation of the Netherlands in May 1945, Emma has been living in Rotterdam on a street held together by powerful bonds of friendships formed among neighbors during the Second World War. She worked hard to block out the war years that she spent in Nazi Berlin when she was married to her first husband. Now Emma's married to Bruno, her second husband, and they have 2 sons together. When she's 96 and on the edge of her own death, she is besieged by long-forgotten memories that crowd into her conscience despite her long banishment, until flashbacks are of happier years and the terrible tragedy of the war. She reflects on her marriage to Karl, who is a good German, and basically is her story and how she helped kind of fight the Nazi regime. Looks like a short book. I just can't help myself. Next up, I have The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Torton. I don't know why this keeps coming into it just keeps coming up and I can't resist it anymore. Murder on the High Seas, detective duo, a demon who may or may not exist, takes place in the 1600s. $4. It was $4. I have The Other Daughter by Lauren Willig. This one follows Rachel Woodley. She's working in France as a governess when she receives news that her mother has died. She returns to a small town in England where she was raised and starts clearing out the cottage. And that is where she finds a cutting from a London Society magazine with a photograph of her supposedly deceased father, but it was dated 3 months before. He is an earl, respected and influential, and he's standing with another daughter, his legitimate daughter, which makes Rachel not legitimate. Everything she thought she knew about herself and her past, even her very name, is a lie. That was all for that one. Susanna Kearsley's, I picked up The Bellwether. Pretty decent ratings on Goodreads when I looked it up too. And let's see, at a time of divided loyalties and family strife, forbidden love blooms between a captured French-Canadian lieutenant and the daughter of the house where he is an unwilling and unwelcome guest. Local legend has it that their story ended tragically, but centuries later, the clues they left behind slowly unveil another fate entirely. Whoa. This pile of books is getting big. Also picked up We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. I've heard good things about this one. It's basically about motherhood gone wrong. It's probably going to break me. That's okay. I told you, Amanda made me get a lot of books. Better Luck Next Time by Julia Claiborne Johnson. She also wrote Frank with Me that we have on our shelves. A number of us do. In 1938, woman is seeking a quick split from an ill-chosen husband, and it talks about how a number of women would go to Reno, Nevada. It is the divorce capital of the world at this time. The catch is to win their walking papers, these would-be divorcees have to spend 6 weeks in the state to become legal residents. Enter the Flying Leap is a dude ranch that caters to the wealthier set of women who are coming to do this. It just sounds kind of fun, so gave it a whirl. I found another Diane Chamberlain that I didn't have. This is Her Mother's Shadow. We have three perspectives here and don't know much about it, but it's Diane and I'm sure it will break my heart. I was asking the girls for a book that would really scare me, and Audrey and Sarah recommended Pet Sematary. So I found me a really decent copy. Like, I don't think this was even read. So I think I'll do a vlog on that one and see how much it scares me. We have The Spies of Shilling Lane by Jennifer Ryan, another World War II historical fiction. We have Mrs. Braithwaite. She hasn't been happy in a long time, estranged from her daughter, lives in London. She's been ostracized by the women of her small English village for the indignity of having been cheated on and divorced by her husband, because that was her fault. She's fueled by frustration. She travels to London to find Betty, her daughter, and share a secret she has kept from her for far too long. But when she arrives, Betty's landlord tells her that Betty is missing. She hasn't been there in a while. Amid the chaos of the Blitz, Mrs. Braithwaite will need to gather her sharpest amateur detective wits to find her dear daughter, who may be in danger, with the help of unexpected allies who become friends along the way. Can she find the courage and ingenuity to save the day? I think she can. My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. I now have all of his books and haven't read any. That's all I have to say about that. Oh, The Madonnas of Leningrad. This one I also found, I think, at Goodwill. I don't know, it doesn't have a sticker on it. And what are we about? Bit by bit, the ravages of age are eroding Marina's grip on the everyday. An elderly Russian woman now living in America, she cannot hold on to fresh memories, the details of her grown children's lives, the approaching wedding of her grandchild, yet her distant past is miraculously preserved in her mind's eye. Vivid images of her youth in war-torn Leningrad arise unbidden, carrying her back to the terrible fall in 1941 when she was a tour guide at a museum and the German army's approach signaled the beginning of what would be a long, torturous siege on the city. I love stories about the siege on Leningrad. I don't feel like there is enough of them. I really enjoy them. It looks like this is now going to be added to my collection. I picked up The Lost Summers of Newport. This is by Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. I just had looked at this book. Where did I see it? Maybe on Goodreads. I feel like it's fairly, yeah, it was just published in 2022. But yeah, historical fiction, let's see. 2019, 1899, and 1957. All right. I think it follows the history of a mansion in Newport. So I'm all for it. And then I picked up The Night Strangers by Chris Bogelin. I don't know why I keep collecting his books. I haven't read any yet, but I have like 4. In a dusty corner of a basement in a rambling Victorian house in northern New Hampshire, a door has long been sealed shut with 39 6-inch long carriage bolts. The home's new owners, Chip and Emily, and their twin 10-year-old daughters, together they hope to rebuild their lives there after Chip, who's a pilot, has to ditch his 70-seat regional jet in a lake. Unlike the Miracle on the Hudson, however, most of the passengers aboard his flight pass away. The body count, 39. That's when I stopped reading because I'm like, woo, that's gonna be good. And then The Cuban Affair by Nelson DeMille. This, I opened it up and was like, okay. That's how much I love a map, you guys. I love it. Let's see, I think it's kind of a little bit of a mystery. After years in the Army, we have Mac, who is a bachelor. He's resettled into Key West and kind of looking to lay low. But when Carlos, a hotshot Miami lawyer, heavily involved with anti-Castro groups, approaches Mac for a 10-day fishing tournament in Cuba to be accompanied by a covert mission and sizable paycheck, Mac's interests are piqued. He agrees to meet Carlos's client. He's a mysterious older Cuban exile, Eduardo, and a beautiful young Cuban-American woman named Sarah. They accompany them to Cuba. The mission is to recover $60 million hidden in Cuba by Sarah's grandfather when he fled the revolution. Sounds like an adventure. It sounds like something I need to read this summer. It's gonna make me want to go to Florida and probably Cuba. I don't know. Anyways, find a beach somewhere. So that was the pile of books that I picked up. There's also a few books that I also brought home for my daughter and for Max. So this has been a pretty decent video, so I think I might do that one as a separate video and we can share the book haul for them. Lots of fun middle grade books in there. So anyways, I blame Amanda. Thank you for helping me buy books. Head over to her channel, check out her book haul today, and see how we influence each other. It's a good time. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye.